Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. It's Ro. For today's video, I am going to be sharing with you this tutorial of how I made that mini journal that I already posted on Instagram. And I made that journal using the ScrapDivaDesigns 3D Hot Cocoa pouch. It is included in the November release, so you can check that out together with the other new releases from this month. Don't forget to use my code, of course, that's RHODA10, RHODA10, to save 10% at checkout. I will be sharing some links down below so you could check that one out really easily. You could go to the website of Scrap Diva Designs, so there is that. And right now I'm just showing you the pieces that I have cut. So everything is included in the die set except for these green strips that I am working on right now. These are, I believe they're around like 3.5 by 1, and then I'm just folding it in half, and I will put this to the side because this is important to put together our journal. And yeah, so I'm just folding it, and then just to let you know, the journal is going to have a total of 8 pages. So for the base, the one that I showed earlier, the one that you can see, I am cutting 16 pieces because we are going to use like 2 pieces of the base for every page. So 2 times 8, that's 16. So we are cutting out 16 pieces of that base. And then for the pink part, I cut only 8. And then for the icing, the whipped cream, I don't know what you call it, I cut a total of 16. And that's just because I am doubling it up just so it's a little bit sturdy. And then for the handle, I also cut 8. And so there's that. I wanted to make sure that I am pairing my pages how I want it. So I'm just putting everything, laying everything down, and then I will pick like what will pair with which page. So there's that. Once I am done pairing, I am going to start adhering that pink piece. Just to let you know, if you are using this tutorial, you are not gluing the 2 bases together yet. The only thing we are gluing right now is a pink piece, which will go in the front base, like whatever paper, whatever print you are using for the front of your cup base. So I'm just going to put everything down. Once I am done gluing it, I am going to sew only that pink part. I am going to sew it around, and then once I'm done with that, we are going to proceed with the next step. So again, gluing this down here down to my front base, and then I am going to sew around like later on. Okay, just finishing it up. We have our last piece here. Oh, almost our last piece. Or second to the last, actually. I wanted to let you know, because I forgot to let you know, that I am using the collection called Hard Candy Christmas. This is from Simple Stories. This is their Christmas collection for one of their Christmas collection for this year. So I grabbed that one, and then I am using it for specifically for this really fun project. So here I am done sewing that pink piece, and then next up we are working on the icing whipped cream part. So again, I am doubling this up just so it's a little bit sturdy. I don't know if it's gonna make a difference, but I just want it that way. I think it'll also add just a little bit of layer, since I am using two sheets, like two layers instead of one. It would have been even better if I used like a thicker cardstock and then double that up, or maybe even use maybe like a foam tape just to add height. However, the reason why I didn't do that is because later on, when we're actually like done with the whole project, it is already very chunky, and I don't want to have a hard time like closing it, putting the closure once I have like the tags, like all the other stuff that I am adding to the journal. I'm not sure like if I'll still be able to like close it if I make this chunkier than what it already is like currently. So I knew that it was gonna be chunky once I bind the whole the journal. So that is why although I wanted like a bit of height, like this was good enough for me. So there's that. Now I am just gluing that piece onto where it's supposed to go, to the edge of that cup. And then once we're done with that, we are going to head on to our next part. So this is a very easy tutorial to follow along to. I think it's also a fun journal to make instead of like making the regular usual like squarish base. So this is another fun shape you can try. So we are done sewing. I also sewed that part of the whipped cream, the icing, just the top, not the squiggly lines because it's too much sewing for me. So there's that. And then I also added an ephemera to the left side just to add just a little bit of embellishment. Again, I am not adding any more to this because I know that it is going to be already chunky if I add even more. Maybe if I made this as a binder album, then maybe I could have decorated it more. Up next, here we are just folding the holder piece, I don't know what you call it, for the cup. So what I did here is I just folded it in half. This is a good thing because it is like two sides and then you double it up, so we have a little bit of thickness to it. I should have added another layer of maybe like a plain cardstock to make it even like more sturdy, because now even with the two layers it is still quite flimsy. And there's that. If I made it like more sturdy, I could have added maybe a charm or a chain or anything. Yeah, maybe I can still do, but for now, this is how it is gonna be. So here, so I'm folding it up, and then I am going to just add a little bit of glue. I'm not putting a lot because I am also sewing this later on. Yes, this project had a lot of sewing in it. This is also why I say that even though the die set is very straightforward to make, like the project using that die set is very straightforward to make, it's very easy to make, but because I love stitching, I love adding stitching to my projects, that is what makes me like slower. It takes me like way longer to finish a project. And I don't know, like ever since I started sewing, once I make a project where I do not sew anything, I don't sew it, like I don't do any stitching, it feels so incomplete. So that is why I try to add stitching to almost all elements of my projects. So here we are down to our last one. And then once we're done with that, we are now going to grab our next piece to start like putting this album, this journal together. So here, so what we're doing is, you know how like the base is like the base, we cut like 2 bases, and then that is why we cut 2, because we are making pockets. So that holder, the cup holder, we are going to adhere that onto the back base, like the second base. So that's the second base, and then this is the cover. So that's how it looks. I try to match my holder to the print of the front base. Oh my goodness, I'm like confusing myself now. But yeah, if you just like look closely, then you will understand that I am just pairing everything up just so it looks nice. So just putting together everything, gluing down that part of the holder just so it doesn't move around. I am gonna sew that later on. So there's that. So let's just finish it up and I'll come back once it's done. And we are back and we are done with that part. So this is how it looks now. And then what I did here is, if you look closely, I did sewing here. I did all the stitching, and I also stitched this top part, and that is because later on we cannot, if you are stitching, actually if you are stitching, we won't be able to sew that anymore once we put these 2 bases together. So here I'm just pointing out that we are going to sew, like when we have the front and the back bases together, we are only sewing the 3 sides that aren't sewn yet. So that will give us the pocket. Up next, we bring back those strips that I made earlier. Again, this is about 1 inch and 3.5. 3.5. I just cut it a little bit smaller just so it doesn't show on the top. And then I'm just lining up that piece from the bottom just so it's uniform, instead of like trying to figure out the middle of that base, and then it might not be straight with the other bases that I'm gonna work on. So there's that. Once you sandwich that green strip, I'm gonna sew around like just the 3 sides. So I am gonna sew that, and then once I'm done with that, I am gonna do the same thing with the next page. that we're making. So you glue that on there, and then you get the other base, the back base, and then you sew it around, and that is how you will have your full like 2 pages of your journal. So this is how it looks now. There's that. Now we have all our 8 pages, and up next we are gonna grab this big piece. So there's like 2 pieces here, which is also included in the die set, and this is going to be our cover. So this is how it looks. I already layered it up. I also added like my label in the back, and then in the front I also like embellished it. I did the cover, and here I also made a spine for it. So the spine measures around 4 inches by 2 inches, and then I just folded it in half, so you have that spine right there. Here I just decorated it a little bit, not too much. And then the next thing we are doing is we are going to bind our journals now, and we are basically done. So this is how it looks so far. So we'll open that up, and then we are going to bind it. Now we are done binding our journal. This is how it looks now. In case you're wondering why I made the cover like it's going sideways instead of like vertical, and that is because I have those the cup holder pieces, and I really didn't want it to fold since it's not that sturdy. So I made the covers like that just to protect those like cup holders. So there's that. Now I'm just gonna quickly show you how it looks right now. Here I am just gonna grab one of the bookmarks just to show you the pockets for this journal. So all the pages will have pockets, and then that's a good way for you to add your photos. If you want to add extra journaling, that's also why I didn't cover the pink parts of the front. That is so you can add like journaling there, or even like small photos. So there's that. So everything has pockets, and then that is how it looks. As a closure, I am just gonna use a bunch of yarns that my dad braided together just to keep it simple. And that is it, you guys. We are done. So thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!